Hello, Steve White, Steve White's 89. Well, the reviews are in. The reviews have been in for about a day actually, and I would have done like my little video about it, but I was too busy in the kitchen cooking up some humble pie, which I'm going to be serving for the next few days for all of you, because people like me and Clownfish Media have really been redeemed, I guess, because we were called liars, and I know I wasn't called a liar by Kevin Smith, but I was called a liar by a lot of people, and a troll and a incel and a woman hater and all these things, because I dared to say that this show, which is the Teela show, was the Teela show. I'm going mostly by Race Grandolf because she was the only one I listened to the whole thing. Most of it was just clips and things. But yeah, they don't just pump up the women's characters, which isn't even necessary when you have the sister series of She-Ra, and you had sort of the yin and the yang of He-Man and She-Ra, and they both had their own series, and one was for the boys primarily, one was for the girls. But they've totally reduced and removed it. She said there is not a single male lead character, so He-Man's gone, and no strong male support characters either. So they've basically brought up the women, they've removed the men, and the talk of gay baiting was very interesting because basically they've made Audra, and she's introduced pretty much as the way she describes it, because this was a non-spoiler, so she didn't speak about any specifics. Non-spoiler is that she's basically introduced as Teela's partner, her, and they're apparently a very good couple in the first episode or so, and then she just disappears. So they're like, hey, look, we've got a gay character, she's got a girlfriend, and then it's just like she's gone and barely says a word for the next few episodes. She couldn't even remember if she had any lines in like 3 episodes in a row or something. So there you go, you got your gay baiting, you've got your destroying the male characters, you've got the emphasizing the female characters, which isn't a bad thing on its own, but when you sort of merge that with removing all the male characters in a male-orientated show originally, which had a sister series, I mean, how about you just do a She-Ra show and do a He-Man show and let them both have their own domains and rule them, as opposed to diminishing one to pull up another one. Apparently it ruins the show. And interestingly enough, she said that it's the weakest of all the Powerhouse shows, and the action scenes are weak. So a lot of people are saying that the animation is kind of cold and flat, and it looks very CGI, and there were some scenes and some shots and some elements that were done well, but for the most part it was just very cold and had no heart, which is what I was saying from what I'd seen before. So Kevin Smith lied, and I don't know why he did it, and it's funny because the more I see of his interviews, because I heard he lied and I believed the people when they said he lied. I mostly saw quotes and stuff like that and comments, and then I actually saw footage of him lying, and I'm like, really? He was actually saying how he ran home and watched, I don't know how I didn't see this part, but he ran home and watched Masters Universe from 81 to 82 every day. It was like a ritual. And I'm like, it wasn't even on until 1983. So you weren't going home and watching this show. You're a liar. And if you're going to lie, get the dates right, and maybe, I don't know, change your birth certificate so we might actually believe you're actually the right age to watch the show because you're too old. So I still resent the guy for lying, because I don't know what he thought he was doing. He could have not lied, promoted the show for what it was, and had a totally different reaction and not have the backlash that he and the show has. So basically what we're hearing is, yes, it's true, it's the Teela show, it's all about her. He-Man is just non-existent. There's no male characters who have any prominence in the show. It's all led by the female characters. And this is mostly, it wasn't really till I heard Grace Randolph say this, I believed it, because most of the people who were saying it were men, and they could have been man babies. I don't think so, but they could have been in theory. But Grace Randolph certainly isn't a man baby. She certainly is a woman who is going to be supportive of female-centric shows and female empowerment. She's not going. I trust her, is what I'm saying. So I listened to a bunch of reviews and I was like, okay, sounds like exactly what we said. It wasn't until people started to refer to Grace Randolph and I actually watched her review that I'm like, okay, yeah, I was totally right, because obviously I hadn't seen the show, so I'm thinking, well, what if he's just baiting people and trying to cause drama and get, attention for the show by telling people what they don't want to hear so they react. maybe it's not as bad, blah, blah, blah. Because there's been a lot of shows and a lot of movies that have been marketed in a very negative way to get a lot of attention, like a lot of man-hating sort of marketing for female-centric films. And then when you watch the films, they're actually not man-hating at all. It's just the marketing was done that way to get attention, but it's always negative attention, and that doesn't work. I thought maybe Kevin Smith was trying that approach, but from the sounds of it, it's all true. It is the Teela show, and we don't need the Teela show she already was a big part of the show. She was like the second biggest character in the show. And what's really insulting is what Sarah Michelle Gellar said. She really upsets me. I love her as Buffy, but she upset me. She basically didn't watch the show. She said, it was just for boys, and the girls were just afterthoughts. The female characters were just afterthoughts. They were nothing. I'm like, how dare you? Seriously, how dare you say that about Sorceress, Queen Marlena, Teela, Evelyn? All these characters were strong women. They were prominent. They were shown many times to be smarter than the men. And the people who wrote this show, and to trash the people who wrote the show and created the show, and to say that basically it was just a toy commercial made for boys and was misogynistic and wasn't diverse or anything. It was created, there were a lot of women and gay men who were in that team of the people who produced the show. And it's just a real slap in the face to them to say that the show wasn't diverse and it wasn't inclusive, and now this new show is. And it's just this ugly trend of promoting new shows by trashing the old show. And some things may deserve it because they weren't inclusive or they weren't progressive. But shows like Star Trek and Master of the Universe were. And for them to be trashed by people like Discovery fans and the new Master of the Universe crew who are now trashing the original show. And when they redid She-Ra, they trashed the old show and said the same thing, that it was just done for commercials and done for kids and done for toys. It was just a toy commercial basically, and that had no diversity. There were no women. They had woman showrunners, they had woman writers and directors. So that was just rubbish, and it's just a low tactic to trash the old show, the original show, and thereby the fans and what they loved, in order to promote your show. If your show is not strong enough just to be promoted on its own without trashing and belittling what came before, it really can't be that good. So I was not happy with her, and I'm going to be tweeting her. She's not going to read it, but I'm still going to say it. I'm not happy with her because, if you watch the show and that was true and you have an opinion, fine. But if you didn't watch the show, how do you get off criticising the show, the fans, or the creators of the people, who are involved in it? It's not exactly a classy thing to do, Miss Geller. So not happy with her. Apparently she's okay as a voice. Apparently there's a problem with Lena Headey. She sounds just like herself. Now Kevin Conroy, apparently he played Batman to Mark Hamill's Joker in another show. I never saw it. Apparently he just sounds like Batman. So apparently Merman sounds like Batman, which is very distracting for people who saw him in the show. I never saw the show, so it shouldn't affect me. But it is a real sign of a bad performance, I guess, or maybe even a bad voice actor when you sound the same every character you do. You're supposed to play different characters. And while actors can dress up and change their look and their appearance and everything and the way they move and everything, voice actors, they really have to nuance their voice to create different characters. If he's not doing that, that's just phoning it in or not being as talented as perhaps fame from one particular role has suggested he actually is. So there we go. It is the Teela show. There are no male leads. No strong supporting characters either. And the other thing that I found most suspicious and worries me the most was Grace didn't go into any spoilers, but she mentioned, along with the gay baiting, Prince Adam. So it looks like they haven't just feminized him to the point of just making him less of a man. I think they're making him gay as well, or suggesting something like that. I think that's going to be, because apparently there's two big twists. The first big twist is they get rid of He-Man and it becomes the Teela show. The second big twist, Grace didn't go into, but it might be Orko being killed, because she may not have been aware that was already out. She might have been talking about that and not spoiling it, thinking people don't already know. But maybe Adam comes out, I don't know. But I don't know if I'm going to watch it. I don't know if I need to watch it. I already know the animation isn't great. The action scenes aren't good. The voice is a bit off. And Skeletor, apparently they take the camp out of Skeletor and they play him straight. I mean, how can you play Skeletor straight? I mean, he's not Skeletor if he's not cracking really bad jokes and being Skeletor. I mean, he just becomes some generic villain. It's just everything sounds wrong, and this all reeks of Kevin Smith didn't know the show. The people making the show didn't know the show, didn't know what they should or shouldn't do. And like Grace Randolph said, they made a bunch of choices in the writing room, like, oh wow, look how wild we're being. If someone who was a fan was there, they would have said, don't do that. So I think there's a bunch of mistakes that have been made with this. And though I still haven't seen it and cannot confirm all of it, I trust the reviews that I have seen. And basically, Clownfish TV, myself, anyone who commented on this over the last couple of years, because we did it first, I don't get any credit for it because I'm not as big as them, but I did a video before they did. We're being redeemed, so I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. Again, there's humble pie for everyone. I'll be serving it up. I'll be waiting. Thanks.